Hi, and welcome to another episode of Goth Gardening with Vice. That's me. I stopped using copyrighted music before they get me. I won't tell you who they is. If you want to know who they is, stay tuned. I won't tell you. Okay, divas. Today we're talking about composting. Let's go take a look at my compost pile, divas. So don't judge, it's been through some things. It's actually a repurposed kiddie pool that was out in the lawn just killing it. So I thought I would do something more productive with it. Here she is. And if you look closer, there's a lot of leaves. There's some grass, but you can't tell once it dries out. There's some paper, that's a bale, I think. Yeah, it's a great way to recycle all your, and it's got cool sharks on it. I drilled holes in the bottom, and that's pretty much it. It used to be all laid out flat, but then I piled it up. The ratio you want is 3 by 3 by 3, 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet, like 3 feet cubed. And I feel like I kind of did it, sort of. And before it was just like flat to this, so now it's a lot higher. And it's a lot bigger. So hopefully it heats up. If it doesn't, that's fine too. So, but you just want to keep it circulating it so that the wet stuff kind of like goes to the top, and then the dry stuff goes to the bottom and gets wet. And you just keep that process going. And when I am ready to bring in some new stuff, I open a hole in the middle. And then I put the new stuff and then cover it up. Then when I'm ready to flip it, I just like push everything back and then just grab a shovel and flip it in. And here's my composting bin. I just keep it by my counter. And whenever I'm cooking, I throw in any vegetable scraps in here. And here's what it looks like right now. There's some eggshells and some frozen strawberries that my nephew didn't eat. He started eating frozen strawberries. Anyway, so there's a lid for it to keep any unpleasant smells out. But I don't mind it. It's fine. It smells kind of like fermentation, so it's fine. And actually, I had some orange peels in here, and the citrusy smell was really nice. I liked it, but my sister has a sensitive nose, so everything bothers her. So she had me put this in the laundry room. So now I just keep a little bowl or any sort of container and just take them over there. And then when this fills up, I dump it in the compost. These are my other composting divas, and they're in the garage. Let me show you. I have red wiggler worms, and I just there's some eggshells, there's some food in here, but apparently I haven't been feeding them enough. They need about half a, and I have a little pig to move them without, to check it without killing them, and without killing them. And they say, I just learned today that you need a half a pound of food per week to keep them alive, or also kill themselves off. So let me see if I can find one. They're pretty cool. Okay, let me look. Oh, there's a diva. Where is she? Okay, there's a diva. This is called a red wiggler. And the cool thing about them is that they eat in groups, so that they go through food really quickly. I need to give them more food because I don't see a lot of them, but they were little teeny slivers, and now look at them. They're thick bitches. So I'm really excited for them. They're alive. I need to get some food in here. But the exciting thing about worm composting is, though, that see how dark this is? Well, it gets even blacker once they've gone through the food. And that stuff is an amazing fertilizer, and like super cheap. You're just recycling stuff you would have thrown away, and letting the worms go through it. And that will help you. It's an amazing. Oh look, you see some black stuff right here. So this is worm castings as opposed to this other less dark stuff. See how this is darker? So that's an amazing fertilizer, and it smells earthy, so it doesn't smell like shit like most fertilizers do. So it's easy. Like I don't feel gross about handling because it smells nice. It smells super earthy, and it's super easy. I've heard that it's good to chop them up before putting them in there, which I haven't been doing. So I'll give it a try. And anyway, here's where they live, and they made it through the winter. Some of them did die off. I don't see a lot of them. Probably need to give them more food. There's 1,000,001 ways to go about composting. So find whichever way works best for you. For me, I just I started by doing the pile and then flipping it every day with a shovel, and didn't see any progress. So then I just started throwing things in there, and it worked, but it was a lot slower. If you allegedly you can get usable compost in under a month if you flip it every day. But I just kind of just threw it all in there, and by the spring it had turned black. It wasn't completely disintegrated, but it was black enough that I felt comfortable. I have giant, really big planter boxes, or like the half barrels, but they're like a plastic one, but it still looks pretty and less maintenance. Anyway, so I filled it halfway with that compost, and then I used city compost for the rest, so that I would have something nice to plant into. So that kind of worked. However, next time I would probably mix in some potting soil or perlite and or peat moss into the compost, because the compost, once it dries out, it doesn't want to rehydrate, and that's not good for the plants. And it's soft, but I feel like it would soften it a lot more. So that's just a little disclaimer on what I did, so you don't do what I did. Because right now I have some plants in there, they're doing okay. I have some lettuce, broccoli, spinach, and Brussels sprouts, and they're doing fine. But it makes me nervous that they're wet all the time because the compost doesn't dry out. That's another thing about the compost, the city compost, that the Boise City compost, is that it doesn't dry out, and then so I feel like I need something in there to keep the moisture to dry out normally, and to rehydrate, because it doesn't dry out, and then when it dries out, it doesn't rehydrate. So it's a great compost, but it's not the best potting soil medium. So I've been using regular bags of potting soil, and I've had better success. But anyway, that's doing fine. If that's all you got, it works. Okay, so now I'm going to list off things that you can use for compost. You can do eggshells, coffee grounds. Coffee grounds are great. You can just spray those around the garden. And they're great for blueberries and acid-loving plants too. But you can just throw them everywhere. Most plants like acidity, so it's great. You can use vegetable scraps. You can use fruit scraps, boiled fruit and vegetables. That always sucks when you buy stuff and it goes bad. But now it can serve a purpose, so that's so exciting. Tea bags. I'm always drinking tea, so that's why that's in there. You can use weeds as long as they don't have any seed heads or they haven't gone to seed. You can just throw them in there, and they're great. It's a great way to recycle your enemies. Lawn clippings. Oh my god. The lawn clippings take up so much room in the garbage can. Now you can reuse them, and it's so great. Something to watch out about lawn clippings is that, you know how cows eat grass and then they like poop it out? So it smells like cow manure, but you can just put leaves over it, or something drier over it. That's some other parts that are drier on top of it, and that should cancel out the smell. I haven't had a problem with it. But also I live in Nampa, so it always smells like cow shit. Oh, fall leaves. Oh my god. Before I would dread fall leaves because they would tell me I love looking at them. I love seeing them all over. My family doesn't. So I love them and they want them gone. So this is a great way, I get so excited seeing them fall down, because then I know I'm going to have more things to compost. Dead plants. If your plants died, some people say don't do it because disease, but I throw them in there because I want to recycle everything. And it's a lot of fun. But yeah, if anything went bad because of a disease, it's not a good idea to throw it in there. Just throw it in the garbage, but that's not what I do. Shredded paper. I don't have a shredder. I've tried looking for one in a thrift store and I can't find one, so I just throw full pieces of paper. They get wet and they disintegrate. It's fine. Plain cardboard. So cardboard that doesn't have any. That's not like printed with a glossy print. It's just like the brown. You can throw that in there. And newspapers and paper towels. Oh my god, I love recycling paper towels because they're so wasteful. So now whenever I use them, I can just throw them in a little composting. Okay, now that I told you what to throw in your compost, I have some things that many people recommend not doing. I don't have first-hand experience because I've never done it, because it makes logical sense to me. And that's to not throw any cooked foods, any meat, dairy, anything that would attract a pest. So just stick to vegetable scraps and non-food items. If you do have a problem with any animals like rodents or raccoons, there are some enclosed containers where some of them even have a little door at the bottom, so you can take the compost that is done. That take a lot of the work out of it because you're just turning a crank instead of having to flip everything over, so it makes that a lot easier. There are also worm bins that do that same thing. They let you take out the worm compost from the bottom. So because the worms are always traveling upwards for food, so they don't like to hang out in their own filth. So that makes it easier to collect. Another method I've seen is people make a loop out of some fencing and then just rope it off. And then when they're ready to flip it, they just undo that loop. I've seen some people compost, just instead of doing a pile, they just throw it in a place that they know that next season they want to start a garden bed in. And they just let it compost there for that season, which is another way to do it if you want to be even lazier about it. So yeah, this year I use them as a filler for my for my pots. So so it's going to keep composting in the pots slowly, but it will. Okay, so now that you know about making compost, here's all the things that you can use it for. You can use it like I did to half fill or fill, if it's all fully done, a pot. You will probably want to add some other stuff in there like perlite or peat moss. Lowe's has a giant bag of peat moss for $11, so it's not that expensive. And I think the perlite is like $7 or $12 for a bag. So you just put like one third of each, or equal parts of each, and it's good. It'll make a really nice potting soil that you made yourself for a lot cheaper. Or sometimes just buying the potting soil bag is cheap, and then you can mix that with a compost. You can top dress the compost. That means that's when you sprinkle it on top, and that way when you water it in, the water soluble nutrients can be absorbed by the plants. You can use it as a mulch, so you can just put it on your garden beds to prevent weeds from growing. Or what else can you do with it? That's pretty much it. You can mix it if you have a garden bed, or you started a garden bed and it's all clay soil. You can rake it into the garden soil, or break up the clay soil and mix it in to make that soil a lot fluffier and full of nutrients, which will bring up more worms to eat all that. And the worms will drop castings, which will naturally fertilize your soil. So the worms would drop all that fertilizer for your plants, and the compost will as well. Thank you to Add the Words for sponsoring this episode. Love you guys. Thanks so much for supporting an out of work artist. That's how I kiss.